Hello, hello, hello. It's Adrienne. And you know, I'm coming back. In a better place than I was earlier. Dark Night of the Soul 1. But I can honestly tell you, I am. It's hard for me to even talk right now. And you know, it's so funny. In my heart, in my mind, in my spirit, in my brain, I'm thinking I'm going to sit down and I'm going to record something positive and uplifting and motivating. And then when I sit down and the camera rolls, well, I look and sound like this. And I'm like, what happened? Right. I mean, I guess I hope I look like a happy little thing to y'all, because I'm trying to be a happy little thing. My little soul is, I'm having a dark night of the soul, I think. And so at least I've identified what it is. And or trying to. And I think I'm just trying to live with the reality of whatever that is. You know. I read about it a little bit. I've been taking notes on from another spot about the dark night of the soul. But I didn't finish the notes, and I don't think. Wait. I think this is it. I think this is the one I didn't finish it. But I think I have enough of it so far that I can share. I was looking at John Patrick Coleman. I took some excerpts because I liked what he wrote on the Dark Night of the Soul. There's a couple of people I want to give some homages to for writing some really decent stuff about it. So his is called Shaman's Guide to the Dark Night of the Soul. And I took some notes up from that. So it's whatever I talk about is going to be based on whatever I got out of Patrick Coleman's Shaman's Guide to a Dark Night of the Soul, I guess. But said through my own Capricorntigress view, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, one of the things he says is spiritual awakening creates a lot of changes. Yeah. And once you become aware of your spirit, your soul, your true self, your old life starts to fall away. And, yeah. You go through a profound life-changing experience, and if you hold on to the past, you could experience a dark night of the soul. And when I read that, I just about fainted, because I realized that's what all of this is about. All of the dark night of the soul, I think, that I'm going through is just having to deal with the reality that I was duped by the one person I trusted the most in the world. Even more than my own child at one point. I thought this person was the person for my life. Like, whether we got sick, whether we got old, whether we were poor, whether we were rich, I made a commitment. I believe in those things. I'm a Capricorn with Capricorn Rising and a Taurus moon. So, you know, I thought him being a Taurus, he would at least stick to his commitment. But I think there's a lot of people going through changes. Because I like to tie things in astrologically. And I think I want to talk about my astrological things more than I want to talk about Patrick's things, because I want to throw this in here. One of the things that I've been thinking about a lot lately is, you know, I've been studying a lot about things, you know, like devaluing and discarding and narcissism and covert narcissism, and doing things like studying Eckhart Tolle and Sadhguru and all these different things like that, and really going deep in there. I've even been studying a little bit of the healing, like the Reiki healing with Alicia Hartzell. She does the different healing of the modalities, and I love Alicia because she did a sexual abuse release. It was virtual, but it was amazing, amazing. Wow, I highly recommend her. She is so spiritually attuned. It's such a beautiful thing. I mean, just 5 minutes in Alicia's voice, and you realize, wow, it just soothes your soul. Anyway, I rave about Alicia Hartzell. I love her. And Kim Carlson, which is like her best friend, I think it is. They both are wonderful women, both of them. Anyway, I had this thought about, because, you know, I'm an astrologer, first and foremost, before anything else. There's a lot of spiritual things out there. There's a lot of spiritual gurus. There's a lot of messages to be heard and a lot of theories. And I guess in my own little way, I built up my own theory about life and about things and about people and about patterns. And I've lived long enough and I've studied long enough to see and know the patterns. And there are patterns. And so I, you know, no matter what else anyone might think about astrology, I get people who still come to my astrology page on YouTube and type nasty things like astrology isn't real and it's fake and you're fake or whatever. My thing is, astrology was around before everything else. It was around before all the spiritual crap. It was. All of it, by the way. All of this spiritual stuff. All of it. Most of this stuff came up in the last 10 to 15 years. It wasn't even around when I started studying astrology in the 70s. So a lot of you guys are believing what you're hearing now. But go back in your freaking past, okay? The Babylonians studied astrology. I mean, it's back, okay? Back before Mesopotamia. So, you know, in the beginning there was Ra, the sun god. So let's keep it real here. But people don't want to go there because they want to think, oh, we're so advanced. No. Because you know what hasn't changed? The planet alignments. Our universe has never changed. It's just we think differently. We're probably more advanced because we're evolving as a species. But the universe in which we live in is still the universe in which we live in. And we're just a tiny speck in it. And I believe, just in case anyone wonders, oh, well, why do you believe in astrology? Well, the earth is constantly spinning. You would think we're standing still, but we're not. And as we're spinning, we're making different... and here's the thing. Like I said, patterns. 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 Okay? It's already proven. I didn't make it up. When the moon goes to a certain spot, our planet flows to the moon. The water on our planet flows to the moon. We don't even really know what water is or why we need it, why we can't survive without it. The universe, I mean, at least the one that we know, can't survive without water. And the moon, well, it fluctuates the water. The sun, we would die without it. Freeze to death, die. So there's certain things, yeah, you might not want to believe it, you don't understand it, I get it, I'm down with that. But we cannot negate that our ancestors were right on the money. They nailed that down, nailed it. And right now, here we are at 2019, discussing basically the things that these ancients discovered thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years ago. Way before Christianity. Way before any of the things that we consider to be normal. So I get a little irked when people discount it, because it's almost like saying, well, oh yeah, we have computers now, which means that brain function is no longer necessary. No. You'll go brain dead if you don't keep using that brain in some way. You can't just not negate, the basis of life, really, which is that we're on Earth. We're on a spinning planet. I think people like to forget that. They want to think that somehow our intelligence negates the reality that we're all sitting on this spinning planet. I'm sorry, I have done everything I could with this hair. And it's just not cooperating with me. It just doesn't look... Don't worry, I've got more hair on the way. I will change my look when I don't, when it doesn't suit my purpose. I do like the black blue of this hair, but I don't like it doesn't fall right, I don't think, for some reason. Anyway, I digress. And that brings me to something else. Okay. I had started in, I guess, with my thing about where I was going to go with this. And I really want to say what I want to say about this before I lose my mind thought. I believe that we might be living in a time where people are being penalized for being themselves. There, I said it. And what I mean by that is, I say it all the time. It's almost like my mantra. There are some things that people do, and there are some things that people are. I think a lot of us spend too much time either trying to fix or remove or adjust or change or the things that we are, and not the things that we're doing. The things that we are they're impermeable. They're there forever. You were born with them. They're going to come back no matter what you do. You're fighting a losing battle. So I guess the secret is to figure out who you are, and then hold on to your truth of who you are. And I think, in essence, that's what I do with my astrology, is that I help people learn who they are. Now, here's what I don't necessarily agree with. Okay. There's this thing where everyone is like, who they are is this giant, superb goddess, queen, creature, Ra or something, I don't know. And I'm like, no, who we are. We all have a different chart. Like, okay, I know that I've got certain things in my chart. I fiddle with my hair a lot and my makeup. I'm vain. I know. I've got my sun on my ascendant on it within 2 degrees. If I'm not going to be worried about what I look like, who would? Because it's sitting in the 12th house. I would probably hide away or be hidden away forever if I wasn't vain. So in a way, my own self, whatever, saves me, because I won't just hide away and die and play with hand puppets. But I will put myself out here and present myself to the world in my best light that I can, and give the best information that I can. And I've got Mercury in the 1st house, Saturn, responsibility in the 1st house. I've got my sun on my ascendant. These are very self-oriented placements. The South Node's right there in my 1st house by birth, but it's right, I've got transits going on in my 1st house right now. So I'm going to talk about myself. I'm going to look at myself, talk about myself, work on myself, fix myself. Some people might say, oh, she's a narcissist. Maybe, I don't know. But you know what I am? I'm going to work on myself. And I'm a self-oriented person. That is why my sun is sitting on my ascendant. It's what I'm here to do in this lifetime. Mercury in my 1st house is here to talk about itself. It's in the freaking 1st house. When I communicate, I can only well, I won't say only because it's a mutual interception with Virgo in the 8th house. So I can communicate through certain ways. That mutual interception means I can, and it's also Aquarius, right, and Virgo. I can teach, learn, study, and train others on astrology. Uranus, Mercury. That brilliance of astrology is there. I might not be brilliant in everything else, but that I'm pretty darn brilliant at because I get it. It's like electric. It's there. Whatever the information I need to know, I look at a chart, there it is. Mutual interception with Virgo. Uranus and Mercury. Right? First house, who I am. Saturn is what you work on the most. Worked on myself all my life. That's why I have astrology, a look inside. A look inside. My videos are always, aren't they? If you go back and review, looking inside. It's a look inside. It's not the fake falseness of the outer. I'm going deep in. I'm sharing deep crap. Sometimes I'll cry on camera. I don't care. I'm just sharing reality. Whatever that reality is for me at that time. A look inside. And I'm documenting it. Because if I don't document it, well, then it's lost, isn't it? Whatever that moment is. Like this. Whatever it is I'm trying to discuss. Whatever it is I'm trying to get across. I've decided to document it and share it. I think I'm getting to a point where I'm doing that more because, well, I'm getting pretty darn close to 60 years old. I look young, but I have a feeling I'm going to look young as long as the universe allows me to look young. And if that goes into my 70s, so be it. That is the beauty of having Venus in your 10th house when you're a Capricorn and Neptune sitting on your midheaven when you're a Capricorn. So the imagery will probably remain, hopefully, if I'm lucky. And this is with Saturn on the first house. This is the oldest I'm getting, I think. Maybe when it comes back, it'll hit me even more. I'm going to get something for this down here. And when you think about stuff like that, right? That I have a certain chart that is a very certain chart. It has Venus and Neptune in the first. It has the Sun, Mercury, and Saturn around the first. It has the Moon sitting on the 4th and Mars in the North Node on the 7th. It's a very, it's almost a grand square, by the way. But yeah, it's an amazing chart. I do have a grand trine, a double grand trine, grand water trine, and grand earth trine, which is what hopefully it makes me psychic, and it makes me a very empathic. I want to empathetic. I want to reach out to people. It's how I nourish my soul. I mean, I won't even lie about it. I am fed when I feed others. I've got Cancer in the 6th house. I've got to help other people. Being almost a mother to other people is my job. Helping other people is what I do. And if I don't do that, if I don't reach out to other people, if I don't include others in my life, then life gets lonely and sad and empty. And so that's why, I have to be careful, as do many empaths, because we can try to help the wrong people and they can take advantage of us, and then sometimes we get hurt and then we become bitter, and that's a whole nother story. So anyway, I had started out with this whole Patrick John Coleman thing, and I don't know why I've been thinking about this. I guess because a lot of the current data I get about on things like narcissists and stuff. Well, some of the things I hear, I'm like, wait a minute. Some of those things I do. Some of those things are just self-preservation. But then you come across people who take the self thing and, being a goddess, a god, or whatever, being a star, being number one, all that, to a whole level, another level that I can't even comprehend that yet. I don't see, and I don't understand what that is. Maybe it's because even though my sun is conjunct the first house, it's technically in the 12th. And my progressed sun is in Pisces in the 12th. And so is Chiron on top of it. I know that my life is just here for service. So even when I say, oh, I'm this super goddess, da-da-da-da-da-da, I don't actually believe it in the way I think some believe it who really believe that mess. I don't. I know that my good will only come when I give out the right vibration to get the good to come to me. And I can't force the good. I can't force success. I just have to live in my most authentic and honest place. If I don't do that, I'm going to screw up. And every time I start to relax and think, oh, I can trust this or I can trust that, I feel like that's when I screw up. I feel like with my ex, I relaxed, I let my hair down and was my whole authentic self with my little afro and no makeup and running around looking like Mom's Mabley. And I think I scared the man to death. I'll never be honest about myself again. Like my brother had said some years ago, he said, I hadn't seen my sister without her wig in 20 years. Now I do come on, with my regular hair and stuff now. But it took me years to get to that, and I swear it chased my husband away. He'll never admit that, but I think he fell in love with the glamour, and he just never could fall in love with the real me. I've got Neptune on the midheaven. I do give off a certain air of glamour. But there's a real me here. And I am Saturn in the first house, all real. So if you come thinking you're going to get a fairy tale, my reality will slap you in the face because there's bills to pay. I got rent. Going on about the rent move. One of them things. I got food I got to eat. I got to work out, often. Got videos I got to make and customers I got to service. Life happens. And I try to stick with the reality of that life. Not everybody wants to stick with reality. And that's where it gets to be a problem. And I also get visions and vibes about things. And sometimes I'm getting vibes about things that might not even have occurred yet. But, give you an example. I knew that my husband was going to do what he did 2 years before he did it. I knew the guy that I just said, look, no, stop. Let's get off this treadmill. But I knew he was going to keep cheating. Even when he called me back and said, baby, baby, please. I'm like, I just watched and waited. Because I'm like, some people don't have it in them. They're not meant to be in a solid, stable relationship. I'm an astrologer. He's just someone who likes to have fun. That's why I called him Leprechaun. At the end, it's always a leprechaun moment. So I just, let him know I don't have enough strength for the leprechaun moment. So I just put an end to it now. He's sleeping with other women, probably in a commitment somewhere. Just, one of those kind of men. What's that? Ugh. I can't deal with that. I have too much baggage. Many scars, wounds. I had a really shitty ex-husband, or soon to be, and it just left me in a position where I don't play second fiddle, second best, second anything. I get the vibe I'm playing second to anything. It could be your dog. Bye-bye. I don't got time for that. Somebody's got to make me number one, or I'm going to be by myself, because you know who's going to make me number one? Me. All day, every day, 50 Tyson. Someone else might not do that. And I'm not taking the devaluing of anyone. The moment I sense, sniff, feel any devaluing, I'm done. This sucker. That's all he knew. Because there's always the next and the next and the next and the next. There's always an ass that looks a little better than the last ass. That's somebody who thinks that way. And so you can go on, keep chasing asses. I'm gonna keep it stepping. I live in a higher frame. I don't even need that. Anyway, we were talking about the Patrick John Coleman excerpts from the Shaman's Guide to the Dark Night of the Soul. As you can see by the way I'm thinking about everything, I am definitely there. I'm taking no prisoners, no BS, no nothing at this point. If you want to call me the Queen of Swords right now, okay. I just don't got it. I don't got time. Just don't. Now, this is supposed to be a time of rapid spiritual progress. I'm just going to say I got Saturn and Pluto sitting on my ascendant and my sun. And I think any astrologer or person who knows what Saturn and Pluto sitting on your ascendant anyway in Capricorn, what that means, you know, you would understand my mindset. As I sit here all in black, right? It's just life. So once you become aware that your outer reality is you're reflecting your inner reality, lessons come swiftly. See? That's why I cut that out, because I attracted in that second person right at the heart of when I was in deep pain. And it was almost like it was my husband. Well, all the things I was upset about my husband with, but inside of another person. Well, if I can't accept that in my husband, why would I accept it in that person? Might as well go back to my husband. I mean, right? At least that guy is my husband. But why? I would never accept that from someone I'm not committed to. Why should I? I'm much better than that. And that's the thing about, you know, I've got this thing about people trying to devalue me, because I'm not going to be devalued. And I think having Pluto and Saturn, when you're a Capricorn, in Capricorn, on your sun and your ascendant, is not going to allow you to be devalued. It just doesn't. You got way too self whatever that is. Self everything. It's all about the self right now. So anyway, it's about understanding that your outer reality is a reflection of your inner reality. Once I clean up my inner reality, once I figure out what it is that either is bothering me or keeping me from attaining whatever it is I'm trying to attain, then that I can start having a better outer reality. So if surrounded by angry people, it could be a reflection of unresolved anger. Right? I know I've got some unresolved anger because of the man that I still love, who's off doing God knows what with God knows who and God knows why. So if people annoy you, you may have to learn patience and compassion for the trials and tribulations of others. And I've tried that, by the way, just so that you know, like with Leprechaun, I did. I went through several relationships over and over with Leprechaun, but he can't stop, so, and he wasn't getting any closer. Like, if he was doing that and getting closer toward me, then I might have, but it wasn't getting him any closer toward me at all. It wasn't good. It was actually starting to feel a little ishy, you know, where you know you're being used, and it's not real. That not real thing. But you have to learn patience and compassion for the trials and tribulation of others. So I've been trying to do that, and I try to be nice because I liked him as a person, nice person, right? Just can't date him. Some people you can't date because you know what your limits are. It's just about boundaries, I think, for me. That's all. Not to be mean or anything. So you may need to create more feelings of compassion for yourself. See, this was all about me being more compassionate to myself than to someone else. Like sending him gifts and money, you know, when he was down and out or if he needed something. I did that for, for months. It's almost the same pattern I used to do with my husband. My husband would call me because he didn't have something. I would send him something. I did that. So look, once you create more feelings of compassion for yourself, it might be kind of weird because you're putting yourself first, and it might not feel good because you've been used to putting yourself down, or putting yourself second, or in my case, I lived for my husband, and so I was always second. I didn't put myself first. I think when I start putting my dreams for my business, for astrology, a look inside, or putting more attention into it, I think that actually is what pulled him away, because I put something else in my vision instead of just him. So it's difficult, it's difficult to feel compassion for others if you feel none for yourself. And I love this whole Dark Night of the Soul thing, and especially that line about it's difficult to feel compassion for others if you feel none for yourself. Now let me stop for a second and tie this in astrologically. Astrologically, I've got Saturn on my sun. Astrologically, I've got Saturn on my ascendant. Astrologically, Saturn is in Capricorn, the opposite of Cancer. And Cancer is the sign that rules compassion, which means I don't have it on myself, I have it somewhere else opposite me. Are you following me? Okay. I also want to point out that this North Node in Cancer right now is exactly opposite this Saturn. So that is not a mistake. This axis between compassion for others and compassion for the self is truly a real situation in my life right now. That's truly my issue, really. So I think it's beautiful that John Patrick Coleman actually had that in his that I wrote that down as an excerpt from him, but also that I could tie it in directly to the Saturn opposed the North Node in Cancer right now. And also that being the 12th house, 6th house access for me, or actually at this moment exactly on the ascendant descendant, exactly on the ascendant descendant. Wow. So it is me versus thee, or me with thee, or me against thee, or me, however you want to look at it, me and thee with T, or however. We can look at it in different ways, but it's how to mix that compassion for myself with the compassion I have for others, and not letting my love for others, or compassion or empathy for others, take over my self-preservation, what I need for myself, what makes me happy, and adhering to my own boundaries. Because that's what a lot of us do. We will bend our own reality, our own boundaries, and just so that we can mix in with someone else, or make someone else happy, or something of that nature. And I just can't do that. So if you're reaching out to others with anger instead of compassion, everything will crumble. And I had started doing that with my ex. I just felt like that right before it ended. Our interactions were very angry with each other. It just never seemed to be on the same page with anything. So things only work when I come from a place of love. I remember when I was a disc jockey many, many years ago. I was working for my daughter's father's radio station in Alaska. And there was another fellow who I always considered to actually be my mentor. His name was Marvell Johnson. Passed away a few years back. And he used to listen to my shows every day, faithfully. And he would call me up and give me feedback or critique on what he thought I should do or not do, or how I could do things better. And I remember one thing he said to me once that stuck with me all of my life. And he said, "You are so on fire when you're up, and you are such a dud when you're down. Stay up, don't go down. Stay up, don't go down." Like, when he said that, like, oh my gosh, it like clicked in me, because he's right. I can be a Debbie Downer when I'm down, And I can be a firecracker when I'm up. Like when I'm up, I'm up. When I'm happy, I realize I can spread sunshine and happiness throughout the world. And I think that's what hurt me the most about what happened with my husband and I felt like we were on the precipice of maybe creating a love that could transform other lives, even not just our own, but like if it was real, if it was true. And it, you know, because I thought we did have something beautiful, and it took away that whole belief that something beautiful can even exist now. So I'm stuck with that ucky, yucky, empty feeling of, wow, maybe life is just nothingness and fake. And that's why I think I ended up in Dark Night of the Soul. So if you are feeling stress and anxiety in your daily life, it is because you're not coming from a place of love. And I can honestly say I wasn't coming from a place of love, because, you know, even though I love my ex, every once in a while I would feel myself saying things like, die, fucker, die. Like, you know, I'm keeping it real. I got that in me. Like, die, bastard, die. Like, you know, if I had a knife, he would have been stabbed. Just that, you know. I'm just glad he stayed far away, and I stayed far away from him, because once I realized he wasn't real, and it was all some kind of joke to him or something, well, there's nothing there. It was all a lie. So, wow. And that's the thing that that's the thing that I fight coming out of, because I don't want to hold on to that vibe. That's the vibe, the narcissist, what they call it, they call it I'm going to think of it in a minute. It's like a narcissistic injury. That's what it's called, I think. A narcissistic injury. That's where that happens, because you're injured from such a place, so deep and so internal, that you lose a part of your belief system and your faith in the world and yourself and everything. And it's hard to come from a place of love, because you don't believe in love anymore, so you get lost. So if you've been working under an illusion, stress and anxiety may come up to show you that you're coming from a place of falseness and the ego, I guess. The negative emotions are messengers. What are they trying to tell me? I married an ass. No, I'm not supposed to be angry at him. It's all about me. It's all about what I did. I was stupid enough to marry an ass. There we go. I believed where I shouldn't have believed. I held on when I shouldn't have held on. I trusted where I shouldn't have trusted. I had compassion where I shouldn't have had compassion. I had more love for someone else than I have for myself. I believed in someone I shouldn't have believed in. I gave patience to someone I shouldn't have patience in. I believed in falsehoods. Right? So anyway, what I loved, what John Patrick Coleman says next, I love. He says, life's default is happiness and peace. Wow. That is right there. That was enough to make me decide I was going to make this video about it. Life's default is happiness and peace. Happiness and peace. That means all of the chaos, all of the BS, all of the gaslighting, all of the, you know, oh, I'm just going to take the piss out of Adrienne. All of that had nothing to do with happiness or peace or life's default, and therefore it was wrong. Because through it all, I was only trying to get to my happiness and peace. I was not trying to hurt anyone. I was just in shy, cursed him out, disappeared on me. I mean, he wasn't acting like a husband at all. So I cursed him out, just like any wife would do to any husband who's acting like an ass. And then I guess he decided that was his reason for leaving. Well, you obviously didn't love me anyway. You weren't there. Ass. So this is what I'm trying to get rid of, is the anger. Because see, you hear the undercurrent that I have is still anger. The undercurrent that I still have is dis-ease. And I don't want that dis-ease to turn to disease. Because many people who go through these type of, devaluing and then discarding things, they end up sickly. And I am now going through the dark night of the soul, and I don't want to end up sickly. Okay, so it makes us easy to get in situations that serve the ego instead of our true selves. And I think that's what happened to me when I, with Leprechaun. It was easy for him to play me because it was easy to play my ego. I wasn't in a good place. So when you are aligned and connected to your higher self, life just gets easier. You stop chasing after dragons. I love that line. I had to write that down because my ex-husband was a dragon. Taurus dragon. Stop chasing dragons. No more. And you give up on having to be right all the time. Because I don't have to be right. I could be wrong about everything I'm talking about right now. I just want to be happy. And now that I realize I wasn't crazy, life's default really is happiness and peace. I'm not the only one that believes that. Happiness and peace is the default, not, the mistake. Those moments of happiness and peace are the reasons for living. So this can this can shine a light on all of the dark places in my life. Once I give up the right, having to be right, just wanting to be happy and find some peace. I'm being shown where my soul has been shattered. The dark night of the soul will help me heal those broken places within me. The dark night of the soul shows me the dark side of myself. So that's why I said earlier, sometimes I think I'm being positive and I go back and I listen and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's just such a downer. It's something I am, it's not something I'm doing. And I got Saturn in the first house by birth. I guess that was the point I was trying to make in the beginning. Mercury right there, almost conjuncted. This is who I am, y'all. I'm not doing anything. I'm just being myself. And when I'm not being me, it's not going to be right, feel right, do right. So I'm just going to keep being me, whether it's, and I'm trying my best to be up. This is me being up, by the way. Some people are really up. I'm not going there. I got Saturn in the first house. I hate when people are trying to get me to be something I'm not. I'm not going to be that. I'm going to be exactly who I am, talk exactly the way I talk, think exactly the way I think, express myself exactly the way I express myself, because this is exactly who I am. Hello. It says, you have been stripped of the false things you held so dear. Okay. If I got stripped of it, I guess it was probably false. Alcohol or drugs do not work any longer. Well, I don't really drink alcohol. I don't. It's so weird, but this thing that I have with getting the muscle cramps is affected by alcohol. Specifically, like really red wine. I can't go near it. And white wine sometimes, but alcohol. And I can't drink beer because it has anything with wheat or hops I can't have. So alcohol's taken a back seat for me in general. There's still weed, but really it's nothing works really because it's not necessary, I believe, any longer. So things like alcohol and drugs just don't work. Television shows no longer entertain you. It's true. I got my television on mute right now. Friends seem attached to materialistic and shallow pursuits, and they no longer interest you. It's true. You're in a spiritual crisis. It's true. You got one foot stuck in the past and one foot stuck in the future. You've been put in a situation by the universe where you must face your demons, your ego, your faults, your failures. Your guides and teachers are waiting for you to catch up because they have a lot of fresh lessons to teach you. Your spirit guides want to help you to be who you are and who you were always meant to be. And that is a loving and kind person who deals in truth. In truth. Dishonest and manipulative people will become intolerable to me. It's true. The moment I sense it, I'm like, oof. Sadly, the loving light of truth can't get in because I built so many barriers. And so it's true. I have to be cautious of that with all of the barriers. I mean, there's a part of me that thinks maybe poor little leprechaun was being 100% authentic, and I just got so many barriers, I just wasn't letting it in. It might be. My ego is a barrier to the truth that I am a divine being incarnated into a human body to have a human experience. And Abraham Hicks popped up right when I said that because she loves saying that you're a divine being in a human body having a human experience. Wake up to this and that life, to the life that I was living, which was the pursuit of materialism, addictive sexual behavior, and other addictions. And they were lies that were created to keep me from realizing that I have a greater purpose than just hanging out with, with others or hanging out in a bar or something like that. It comes down to a showdown between me and falseness. It's getting to the core of my identity and the me that is me, that is me. And I've always been interested in being the me that is me, that is me. And that's why I wanted to make this video and say, as I said before, there are some things that people do, there are some things that people are. And I am, living to be who I am. Who I am. Not to do or be what the party line wants me to be, but to be who I am from a deeply, deeply authentic place in a deeply true spot of spirituality within myself, and just to live with that authentic feeling in all that I do. So anyway, I wanted to share this. This is what I picked out of that. Other people may read that and get something completely else out of it, but that was the message I was given. Maybe it's because I have Saturn and Pluto sitting on my Sun and Ascendant right now, and the North Node is opposing my Sun and Ascendant, South Node sitting there. And so this message was about getting down to be the me that is me. It's me versus falseness. It's me being in my most authentic place. And I hope that this touches someone that, maybe you're learning to be in your most authentic place too. And so maybe what I'm talking about will resonate with you if you too have experienced something like the dark night of the soul. So anyway, this has been Adrienne Obey, Capricorntigress of Astrology, A Look Inside. You can find out more by visiting astrologyalookinside.com. You can also find me at facebook.com/astrology, A Look Inside. I give free mini readings at my group on Facebook, which is facebook.com/groups/astrology, A Look Inside. And I also can be found at adrienneobeyhq.com, where I have many products that I offer, as well as my astrology products. Sending out much love and much light to all. Namaste. Bye now.